Hey y'all, thanks for joining me. I have a really important and deep dive segment for you here. I've been working on this particular subject matter for on and off over 2 weeks. So I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of digging, and it's taken a while to get to this point. Anyway, before I get started, I need to announce my newest member to the channel is Jean Elizabeth. Welcome. Thanks so much for your support. And I'm very grateful to you for joining. And thanks for becoming part of my team. Now this segment is going to be about Greece, Turkey, Cyprus, Israel, what's going on with all of them, and the prophecies attached to the Aegean and the road, the E65 road. There's a lot of geopolitical issues here, plus prophecy and spiritual issues that I'm going to share with you. So we're going to start first off. You remember after the Iranians struck the British base in Cyprus, a bunch of NATO and ISI came to Cyprus. So I'm just going to start with showing you this map of Cyprus. So we have the area north of buffer zone administered by Turkish Cypriots. This is the Turkish zone. This is the Turkish occupied Turkish area. Then you have the area south of the buffer zone administered by Greek Cypriots. That's Greeks here. And then you also have the United Kingdom, the green parts. And then you have the United Nations administrated buffer zone, as you see here. So you can see what's going on. There's Paphos, Limassol, Nicosia, Larnaca. Okay. So all of these different countries came about after that attack. I'm going to start with this article from this Turkish Cypriot, quote-unquote, foreign minister, Tahsin Ertugruloglu, I guess is how you say it. I'll just say E because it's kind of a mouthful. And he says Cyprus has long been part of Israel's promised land. This is why relations between Israel and the Greek-Cypriot administration have become very close. ISI, together with southern Cyprus, share the approach of liberating Cyprus from Turkey. He refers to the response by Greece, France, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, and UK. That's the group that has come, all deployed naval or aerial assets to the island and off its shores. He said Cyprus had turned itself into a military headquarters. Yes, it's become a hub. Despite this, he said, the military balance on the island has not been disrupted. Turkey has taken the necessary precautions, and the deterrent effect created by the Turkish armed forces since 1974 is continuing to hold, he says. Turkey deployed 6 F-16 fighter jets and Hisar-A surface-to-air missiles to the island after the drone attack. And quoting him again, any military action by southern Cyprus against the TRNC would be suicidal. Has no chance of acting alone. He says the Mediterranean area is of interest because of energy, water resources, and strategic location. Because of this, quote, Turkish Cypriot side, together with Turkey, is waging a fight for its rights and security in the region. Nevertheless, quote, the TRNC has not become a direct military target thanks to the policies pursued by Turkey. He said the opposite is true for southern Cyprus because, quote, it's at risk due to the British bases and their use by the United States and UK. Quote, Southern Cyprus has become a part of regional conflicts, and therefore it could be seen as a military target in the event of political crisis. And then he ends with Cyprus had some interest in joining NATO, and his response to that was, dream on. So you can see how he feels about he obviously does not have any, he's very confident. He doesn't think Cyprus he basically is saying Cyprus is weak. It doesn't have any way to fight for itself. It can't fight alone. It needs others to come help it out. And yeah, he doesn't think that Cyprus will become part of NATO either. You saw what he felt about that. Let me go on to another article. Turkey warns Israeli expansionism becoming global problem, as I'm sure you could guess. He says Israel's expansionism became a global problem. It is obvious that they have a depopulation policy there, either by killing, this time about Gaza, either by killing people or driving them away. The international community utilized all diplomatic tools to prevent it. And so, his objective. Our objective is to develop a realistic, actionable framework, this is the foreign minister, across multiple domains, including economy, technology, health, and defense. These four countries represent a broader regional potential. Our assessment is that the region has not fully utilized its cooperation capacity, and we aim to operationalize this untapped potential. Fidan said, this is not an alliance against any actor. Unlike other bloc-based approaches, our focus is on conflict resolution, economic advancements, and stability. We believe that regional challenges must be addressed through regional ownership rather than external dependency. So, yeah, they're not happy with what's going on with the Ankara is obviously not happy with the Greece-Cyprus cooperation and concern over U.S. support, of course. So what it says in this article is that Ankara is attempting to entangle Greek-Turkish relations and the Cyprus issue within a new regional rivalry involving Turkey and Israel. Turkey aims to prevent Greece-Cyprus-ISI cooperation, which it views as an axis obstructing its regional ambitions. Turkey perceives the deployment of European forces in Cyprus and Greek military systems such as Patriot and F-16s as threats to its security. Greece has strengthened its defense capabilities through agreements with ISI, including missile systems, which Turkey views with concern. Turkey is also exerting pressure on Greece regarding the Turkish minority in Western Thrace. Yes. So, as they said, the European countries deploy forces around Cyprus amid Iran crisis. So they're calling this the hub now. Cyprus is the hub. So, for military and logistics and all that. It's a natural hub for surveillance, logistics, and military coordination. But France has assembled the most substantial European military presence in the broader area, not ISI. Okay. Now, like we said, ISI made this, signed this back a few months ago. They signed this trilateral work plan. In this article, the official statements, they clarify that the 2,500 strong force, 1,000 ISIs, 1,000 Greek, 500 Cypriot, is not a permanent standing unit. Activation is described as flexible for times of crisis. Unlike a NATO-style Article 5, it does not explicitly guarantee automatic intervention if one party is attacked, especially if the conflict arises from a disputed maritime border. So reports from the media line suggest the primary mandate is the protection of critical infrastructure. Yeah, it's the energy deal they made. So the pipelines, gas rigs, internet cables. It's not really defending territorial sovereignty over islands. And as we know, I'm going to remind you on this issue with this trilateral issue is not all it is cracked up to be, as we said. And I want to remind you also that back in October, Netanyahu's new Haifa. Remember all of the influx of the Izzies that came in during the 12-day war into Cyprus, the ones that had money, they took their boats and they went to Cyprus, and now we have all these particular gated communities in Cyprus, in certain cities there. So, it almost feels like everybody's occupying Cyprus, and Cyprus doesn't have its own sovereignty. You have all the NATO ships around supposedly to help, and then you have the UK bases. You have everybody seems to be involved there. As we said, Cyprus is the strategic hub, become an active target as that Cypriot foreign minister said. There's a hexagon alliance that Turkey is not thrilled with, like we just mentioned. Not only does it have Izzy, Greece, and Cyprus, but also India involved, and select Arab African partners into a single regional architecture. Now, Turkey finds this to be, it views it like a direct military encirclement to box Turkey in. So, since etched in stone that Izzy has to defend militarily Greece, and it doesn't tend to do that anyway. It doesn't tend to defend its other people, its quote-unquote allies. So, I'll remind you about this, where Elder Joseph had said, now the Jays will move, and they will also provoke the Turks to invade Greece. The Turks will enter Greece because we won't have a government. They won't have a government then. So the point here is the Izzies are going to provoke the Turks to attack, as I've said in another video. Okay, so we're going to talk again about the zones, where Greece has their zones, their territorial zones, but also where Turkey has them, and we're going to get into the 6 nautical miles that has now been the 12 nautical miles after the announcement in January 2026 already fulfilled. Let me show you a quick video of that. St. Paisios said, once again, he explained to someone, when you hear on TV being referenced the miles extension of coastal zone from 6 to 12 miles, then the war will come after. So as you see, he said, when you hear it on TV being referenced. So that announcement has happened. Didn't say implementing, it said announcing, okay? So let's go back and look at this map again. And here's the zones. We have this is the EEZ agreed between Greece and Egypt. This is EZ agreed between Turkey and Libya. Wow. And then you have this area that's Israel, this is Lebanon, this is Cyprus. We have claimed by both Cyprus and Turkey, claimed by both Cyprus and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. So we have all these zones here, just to get an idea of what's going on. The Eastern Mediterranean area, here, the Eastern Mediterranean, the Aegean's up there. That's what's going on here. Maybe you all hadn't seen that, and it's good to have that as a visual. And so we know that now it's gone from the 6 miles to the 12 miles. I have an image of that for you as well. This is the 6 nautical mile limit. This is what it looked like when it was 6 nautical miles. Okay. Then you go up here to the 12 mile limit. Definitely shows a lot more space being filled up there, doesn't it? And as you recall, that was about a 30-year time period for the announcement of the 6 to 12 mile nautical miles. It was about 30 years, and I did a video on that as well. It took a long time, because 1995 was when Greece had the legal right to extend their territorial waters to that, out more than 6. But they did not do that for 30 years, and I'll get back into that, why, in a bit. I also want to tell you that Greece has become the main connection point for for NATO. So there's a lot going on with that. So for instance, I'll start with this particular portion here. Okay, so Alexandroupolis has become really important. Since the Bosphorus Strait has been closed since the Russian-Ukrainian war started. This is the way NATO gets through. It's through this Alexandroupolis port. NATO has increasingly used it in northeastern Greece to move, as a Bosphorus bypass, to move heavy armor directly to Bulgaria, Romania, and Poland by land. So this is one portion of what is being used in Greece for NATO because the Bosphorus Straits is closed. Greece is becoming really important. We're going to also get into the importance of the E65 highway. As you know, the E65 motorway is 93% complete. It's supposed to be finished in the second quarter of 2026, so sometime between April and June. And since we're in May now, we're all kind of guessing it's probably going to be June or the end of June when that last 7% is done. This is a quick map of how this road is going up. This is the E65. I'm going to give you a Google map. You see the E65 here. It starts all the way from the bottom down here. Okay. Goes all the way down. As you can see, all the way to down here. But then it comes up here, and you can see it stopped right here. That's where it seems to have cut off. It's still, that's what they finished so far. But to go up here, this is where it needs to join with the Grevena junction. The Grevena junction, it's the final 7% of E65, allows southern assets to reach the border bypass in record time. Once this road comes in, it cuts through those mountains where it would take a long time to go around and get through the mountains. Now it's going to be an hour and a half once this E65 road is done. And again, this intersection is important because once that's done, you can take, that road's going to go straight like a T, shaped like a T up here, and it's going to take NATO all the way to Istanbul or to the Balkans, the other direction, this way, and up through to Russia. And as you can see, that's why NATO needs to use this road. I mean, they already have done exercises and they've had tanks and everything going through this road. This Greek highway is becoming a critical NATO military artery. Okay, so let me remind you the importance of this E65. This is Elder Joseph's prophetic words on this. It says, due to the extensive damage to the road network, they will divert the most of the NATO forces to Greece through the Ignatian Road. Yes, the Ignatian Road is the connecting road that will connect to the E65 road. It's the Ignatia Odos road, okay? They will do this on the one hand because the Greek road network will have suffered minor damages, as until then Greece will have remained neutral. Now, the other hand, because the Russians will choose not to strike the Orthodox and friendly neighboring country. Although the Westerners, however, will hate the Greeks terribly because they did not fight against the Russians and because they will not have suffered such great destruction and losses, even though the fact is they were, they just said that they're being somewhat neutral, right? But they didn't consider that neutral. And that's when, the NATO is going to come down. They're going to fall in the hands of NATO, and it's going to be horrible. Okay, so if they're in that path of that road, they need to flee to the mountains, is basically what it says there. So this is what he said. Then you have, of course, so he's saying here to the man he's talking to, George, he says, you're going to Rio. He's not going to go to Evros. He's going to Rio. You're going to wear a cross. And there you'll be tasked with telling the residents to go up to the mountains to the right of Nafpatos, because NATO troops will come through and ravage everything they will find along the way, which is exactly what Elder Joseph said. So they're to one's align. And then he asked the elder, and this is Father Panagiotis, when the war will take place. And then he says, George, the war will break out when the new road connecting Domaku to Lamia is completed. There will be a great famine. So it's when that road is completed. As we know, when that road, the E65, Ignatia, connection and all that's done, those last kilometers, that's when the war will start. So Greece and Cyprus are currently participating in the Noble Dina naval exercises, which focus on defending critical undersea infrastructure, specifically the gas pipelines and electrical cables that will eventually link to the Greek mainland. There's a new maritime cybersecurity center of excellence is scheduled to be inaugurated in Cyprus in 2026 to protect the digital systems governing these energy and military corridors. And Greece is currently implementing the Achilles Shield, multi-layered air defense system worth approximately $3.5 billion, built using ISI technology. And so it's to protect the Aegean islands and the mainland grid. But as you see, the ISIs are going to betray Greece because they're going to use Greece as a pawn, a distraction for Turkey to be focused on Greece so that ISI can take over more or all of Syria. Now, as I said, the road is important. The E65 road is called Greece's backbone or spine because it goes all the way up the center of Greece, all the way to the top, as I showed you that image. If you need to see it again, I'll show you that again. This one up here goes all the way up south to north of Greece. That's what that is, and it's important. It moves NATO and Greek equipment vertically to the northern borders. And of course the shield, ISI in Cyprus, that secures the Mediterranean waters, ensuring that the energy and logistics feeding into southern Greece are protected from asymmetrical or symmetrical threats, apparently. We'll see. I think that's mostly about the energy resources more than militarily. As I said, Izzy's not interested in defending Greece. They're just interested in the resources, okay? That's their interests. What I showed all that for you is we see things coming together for the prophecies on what's to happen. We talked about the E65 road should be completed probably by June, maybe the end of June at the latest. It's a vital prophecy. It's like the last domino prophecy for Greece. As far as its, because there's two things. Greece has an external strength and the internal strength. The external strength is the 12 nautical miles that they've put forth. And then the internal is its backbone, the E65 road that will connect with the Ignatia, Odos road at that junction. And that is considered its two strengths. I will tell you that, yes, I'm not counting Erdogan's fall in this because I'm just talking about what is making Greece strong right now. And I will tell you a very interesting point that I found out today. Remember when I did the video about the nautical miles, and I had an article that I asked, why did it take 30 years for Greece to implement the 12 nautical miles? Why did it take so long for them to expand out? Well, they had a fear, obviously, of Turkey attacking. It also is because at that time, Greece was a weak country. And so it wouldn't have been able to do much against Turkey at that time. And I think you'll find this very interesting that both, it took over 17 years, nearly 20, for this E65 road to get to the point of completion that it's at now. So that's a long time, right? 20 some years, or 17 to 20 years. And then you had the water, territorial waters, it was a 30-year time span. At the same time, this is the same kind of parallel to what happened with Russia. It took Russia about 30 years from the fall of the Soviet Union. They were very weak for many for decades, and they just now have begun to strengthen. And it's interesting that both Greece and Russia strengthened their countries' defenses and their military within the same time period. And that time period, the elders call in Greece, where it had this road waiting to be built. They had all these hurdles, construction issues, the 2008 financial crash, the weather issues. There were all these reasons why they could not work on that road. And like I said, the fear from a Turkish attack regarding the nautical miles. And you'll notice that all of this took this long for them to gain strength, as well as Russia. And there's no coincidence to that. They call that the curtain of mercy, that the saints, elders prayed to hold off these attacks on Greece, and then to a certain extent Russia at the same time, because they're both Orthodox countries, that God was giving mercy and through the prayers of the saints, that this did not come forth for 30 years to give them time to be ready for this world war. Their particular involvement in that, respectively, each one in a different way, obviously. I found that very fascinating about that, and I kept hearing, the preparation period is it's about to end, and that's when I started looking up all this information. Well, what's the preparation period? The preparation period is the nautical miles and the completing of this road, and those are the two things for Greece. The elders talk about that was the preparation period. That was the protection veil at this time. That veil is being lifted. The preparation period is nearly ended once this road is complete. And again, this lines up with what's going on with Russia as well. And I just thought that was fascinating, and I wanted to share that with you. Found out that the reason why none of this was completed sooner is because of spiritual reasons. I found this part very interesting about Russia, the 30 years and all, and after the Russia-Ukraine war, and we know that had to do with NATO encroaching on Russia for 30 years, just about 30 years, and so the problem with the Donbass and all that. But I'm just going to give you this information. I know some people don't like the Russian government. They don't like Kirill, but I'm going to share this because it has to do with this the spiritual side to this. For Russia, the 30 years following the fall of the Soviet Union allowed for a massive spiritual and military rebirth. In the 1990s, Russia was too weak to fulfill its prophesied role in the north, like I said. By May 2026, they have reorganized their fleet, secured the northern routes, and reestablished their Orthodox identity. So, this veil, a lifting of the veil, is because, and the delay is going to end because the prophecy is going to be fulfilled here in the next month for the road. The nautical miles was filled as well. And it's not just, as I said, of Greece being ready. It's about the alignment of all pieces. Russia is now the descent from the north, capable of moving its fleet around Europe. And how's it going to do that? It's going to go through that road that's going to be fixed by Greece. And also, don't forget Alexandroupolis, that area there instead of the Bosphorus might be how they go through as well. Russia considers themselves as a third Rome. I read this in Ultimate Things. That's how they consider Russia. And I'm saying this. I know people don't want to hear some of this, but I'm saying it anyway because it's an important portion here of why I'm saying this. The Moscow really feels this way. In recent sermons and theological reports from May 2026, the Moscow Patriarch has increasingly used the term Katechon, the force that restrains the Antichrist. And they're looking at this spiritually. That's how they see what they're doing in this war. They call it the Holy War, and people don't like that. But there's this theological reason why, and the spiritual reason why they think this is happening. That's just the way he's seeing it, okay? This is what Patriarch Kirill said regarding this. He said, quote, "The current situation leaves Russia with no other option than a complete victory over the Antichrist regime. Russia is a Katechon state whose mission is to save the world from the construction of a globalist anti-Christian new world order, which will lead to the reign of the totalitarian power of the Antichrist. That's what he's saying. He also says Russia is waging not a physical but a metaphysical battle against the forces of evil. It has not only political significance, but is directly connected to the salvation of humanity. That is how Patriarch Kirill is seeing what's going on with NATO's war against Russia. Okay, that's how he's seeing this. It's a spiritual, it's through this spiritual lens. So what's interesting is that both Greece and Russia are both going through this kind of spiritual time period that is almost like a rebirth for both. But we have the Russia's rebirth and we have Greece's rebirth. Okay, their strength. If you look at it, that they've all come from weakness to strength, these two countries. You know, the spiritual goal is becoming the restrainer. For Russia, it considers itself the restrainer to the Antichrist. And then Greece is reclaiming ancestral waters and the external shield. Yeah, they're trying to get back what is they consider theirs, right? And then there's the physical signs. You know, well, there was the reconstruction of the Christ Savior. Well, that was a while back, but yes, that happened. And then there's the E65 completion, the spine, as they call it. So if you look at this from a purely spiritual side, you can see that this is very interesting, what is coming about with Russia and with Greece, and the ties, the geopolitical ties and military strategies, and how they are playing out in real time, the unfolding of what is to happen with both of these countries in their own involvement in this war, which obviously Greece is not going to be involved in World War III, but on the cusps, on the ends with what happens with NATO and Greece on that road. And we already know with Russia it's going to be much more involvement. So I hope that was really informative to you and it made a lot of sense. There was so much to dig up. I hope it was coherent for you on how I did all that. It was just a lot of stuff I had to go over. But I really was excited to share it with you all. I thought it was important. I thought it was very interesting, intriguing, fascinating. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for following my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Like my videos if you like them. That always helps in the algorithms. Also, share my videos if you think they're worth sharing. It's good information you want to share with your friends, your loved ones, or whatever, people who are following this type of content. Also, if you want to join as a member, I finally finished my... Took me a while to get all this figured out because you're supposed to have 3 tiers. So I actually do have now 3 tiers. No pressure, though. I'm just finishing up something I needed to finish for my membership program. So we have Tier 1, and you will see that on the screen here for $2.99 and what the perks are for that. Then you have Tier 2, and Tier 1 is called Light a Candle Tip Box. Tier 2 is called Coffee Hour Java for $4.99 a month. And there's the information there on the extra perk for that, plus the ones from the first tier. And then the 3rd tier is Research Rudder, so that you can get access to more behind the scenes of my researching work. And that one is $8.99 a month. And the list of all my members are here as well, which is really exciting. I'm extremely grateful to everyone that become members. Thank you so much. And let's continue praying for the world, for us that God has mercy on everyone and to lessen what's to come. God bless.